Hi, my friends, and welcome to my channel, Sysadmin Toolkit. And if this is the first time you're tuning into my channel, welcome. Please subscribe so that you can get the latest updates, and also please check out my other videos. And in this video, I'll be continuing my series of videos that look at various aspects of security, networking, right? Pretty much my aim and passion at all times is to just add value to IT professionals like myself, and those that are aspiring to venture into the field of IT, whichever area that might be, in security, networking, in system administration, in computer engineering, whichever the case is. Right? One just has to get their hands in the mud, as they would always say, to get things going. Alright, so in this video, I just want to spend some time just to look at um, securing one's network, or securing your network, right? And I've basically summed this up in three simple steps, and one might just think and say, three simple steps. This is probably one of the greatest challenges that an IT professional, whether you're a CISSP, whether you're a CH, whether you're a network engineer, a system administrator, whatever the capacity is, as an IT professional, securing your network, your company's asset, whether software or hardware, is one of the greatest challenges. The information that I'll be sharing, and one of the things that has helped me over the years to become efficient at what I do, is to um, look at what others have done, right? Try to do researches, right? Never trying to reinvent the wheel. I mean, we live in a world today. I mean, reinventing the wheel is like somewhat, redundant, right? There are so many templates, there are so many guidelines. For example, even watching this video, right, that you can pull on, so many resources that you can use to guide you in your decision-making process, in your design process, in your configuration process, right? So the information that I'll be sharing with you, you can also find the reference in my description section, which is endorsed by the CIS, which is the Center for Information Security, as well as MNT. So these are pretty much guidelines that I use to, even in my networking, day-to-day operations, right? When you're called upon to carry out these various things in terms of, right? Then one, you have to, as a professional, then you must have a acceptable framework that guides what you do as a professional, right? So we're just going to be looking in this video at three simple steps for securing your network, and you can also do further research, because various persons might have different views how they go about doing this. So this also varies depending on the nature of your network, your environment, um, right? But these are those general guidelines that I think are pretty much, can be pretty much helpful, right? So once you talk about securing a network, right, this can seem to be a very challenging task for most, if not many, skilled IT professionals, right? So to help secure your network, then it's always good to have a guideline, right? When you talk about secure network, you're looking at your IT systems, all the systems that work within that network, right? All the data, right? From protecting all of this from various attacks, right? Not to mention that in today's world, there's also a great demand for IoT devices, right? That has also increased, which has also increased the landscape for threats and vulnerabilities within our network, making it even more difficult to protect one network, right? So the issue of network security has become increasingly important, right? So with more businesses and regular households moving everyday tasks and processes to the network and even to the cloud, it will make things more challenging. All right. So with that said, let us break this down into 3 steps that you can quickly build on, right, in order to secure your network. All right. So the first thing that you want to do is to assess, right, identify and assess vulnerabilities. All right. So that's very critical. The identity process, right? You must know what it is that is on your network and what is it that you're actually working with. Right, so the first step in securing a network is to harden the devices. And if you have not checked out my video about endpoint security hardening and all of those other factors, then you can actually look at that. That looks at some of these measures that you can take to secure harden your endpoints, whether these might be servers, mobile devices, laptops, PCs, whichever the case is, whatever devices connect to your network. Right, so the first step is securing your network is to harden the devices, right? This is pretty much a process where you identify and then eliminate or mitigate all known security vulnerabilities, right? So, as I said before, there are various guidelines that you can use once you do your research, and I'll put in a link to this. So, using authoritative CIS, and CIS stands for the Computer Information Security. That's a body that deals with all of these security issues. Right? They have actually put together a checklist for hardening your various devices. Right? So, checklist from the Center for Internet Security, right? The industry leading authority on securing configuration guidance. Right? So, from there you'll be provided with a detailed description and rationale and testing direction for auditing and compliance. So let me quickly give you a look of that guideline that you can actually use, right, as a guideline for identity and to identify and assess vulnerabilities as a first measure in developing a secure network. Right, so this is a benchmark, and pretty much, if you notice here, they have for Windows servers, Windows desktops, right, and all of these are the documents that you can use as your benchmark. IBM, Apple, your network infrastructure design, right, the various compliance mechanism that you can use if you are using Cisco system, the benchmarks that you can establish, right, for your web browsers, Edge, IE, all of these are benchmarks that you can implement. Your web servers, right? All of these, you can actually pull these documents, download, right? They are made available to the public for free. I mean, thanks to this organization, right? So all of these are guidelines that I look at. You can use in your professional working environment, right? Right? To see what other companies and standards, right, that you can also use in your organization, right? So that's as it relates to identity and access management, right? So it's pretty much a process of going through, looking at what you have, all the devices that are attached to your network, and in previous videos I've also demonstrated a number of applications, whether open source or enterprise applications that you can use in this process of identity and for identity and assessing vulnerabilities, right? I mean things like Landsweeper, I mean Nessus, you have Spiceworks, you have a number of other tools that you can actually research that can actually help you in with identity to identify and assess vulnerabilities within your network, right? So that's the first phase that you can start with, right? So once that phase is done, right, and these things normally take time, right? So you just need to be strategic about your your approach to doing a task that might seem very difficult, right? As they always say, the the um, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, right? So next phase is to prioritize your key security threats, right? So prioritize your key security threats, and this can be very daunting as well. But nevertheless, it's just to have a strategic approach, right? So not every organization has a time, as you all know, and money or other necessary resources to stay on top of their IT systems around the clock, and we all know that. That's pretty much challenging, right? However, there's no excuse for not addressing the most pressing security threats to your organization, right? Before serious damages can be done, right? So there are controls that can be used to prioritize or set security actions, right? Which are being developed by a number of top security experts across all industries that can be used to guide us in prioritizing um, the security threats that exist within your organization, right? So as I said before, don't reinvent the wheel. Just look at the resources that exist and then use those as guidelines, right? And one of the first things is that you have to look at what are the most critical areas that needs to be addressed, right? And how should an enterprise take the first step to mature their risk management program? So things like those, right? So another, instead of chasing after every new security threat, right, and neglect the basis, you have to look at how can you get on track of a roadmap or fundamentals and guidelines to measure and improve, right? That's very important. You also have to look at which defensive steps have the greatest value. So it's all about evaluation and assessment, right? So what they have done, our research have done, is actually to pull together a set of guidelines or best practices that one can use to as first-hand knowledge to protect against actual attacks, right? And these have actually resulted in what we call a list of controls, right, representing the best defensive technique to prevent or track them, right? So this is developed by the CIS controls that I've mentioned before, CIS, um, which is a set of technical guidelines. Now, that process of prioritizing and prioritizing our key security threats, right, can be done through a 20-step phase. And this 20-step phase looks some things like this. But it might seem a little bit daunting and challenging at first, especially if you're in a company where you are the main security IT professionals. There are companies which you only have one administrator, system admin, who act as the jack of all trades, as well as you have organization in which you have various departments that carry out all of these activities, right? So these are those guidelines that you can use, right? The first one is to have an inventory of authorized and unauthorized devices, right? And so before, if you look at my previous video, there are videos that I mentioned, application that can actually use to carry some of these tasks, right? Have an inventory of authorized and unauthorized software. You must know what is it that you are working with, what lies in your network, right, in order to mitigate and deal with the various threats that exist, right? Secure configurations for hardware and software, right? Continuous vulnerability assessment and remediation, right? Control use of administrative privileges, maintenance, monitoring, and analysis of audit logs, email and web browser protections, malware defenses, limitation and control of network ports, data recovery capability, secure configuration for network devices, boundary defense, data protection, control access based on the need to know, wireless control, access control, account monitoring and control, security, skill assessment and appropriate training to fill gaps, application software security, incident response and management, penetration tests, and red team exercises. Alright, so all of these pretty much fall into that process of prioritizing your key security threats. So by applying that approach systematically, then you're able to identify where your threats are, and you're able to narrow down those weak areas of your network, right, in terms of making your network more secure. Alright, and one of the last phase of this process of securing your network is to have continuous monitoring, or to continuously monitor for changes. Right, you must know when changes take place in your network and for what reason are those changes taking place, and who is it that is carrying out these changes, whether they are legit or not. Right. So all security issues, as we all know, start with a change or a need for a change. Right. So for this reason alone, your organization must continuously put mechanisms in place to monitor for changes, right, to maintain a secure and compliant network. Right. So as you all know that historically this has been one of the biggest challenges for IT teams. Right. So as I said before, this can be used as a guideline. I put the link in my description. You can also do further research and to actually look at ways in which you can continuously monitor for changes within the network. Right, so guys, I hope this has been informative and helpful, and also act as a means of helping you to better add value to your organization. Right, so thanks again. Share, like, dislike, and of course subscribe and share the link. Thank you.